This was not a visit she would have chosen to make, had she not been forced to by circumstances, and the state of the house represented everything that she felt about her extended family. Neglected, old-fashioned, out of kilter, and more than a little embarrassing. The Morris family would never have been singled out for the veracity of their housekeeping, or their ability to embrace change. Edie doubted that the Morris family would have been singled out for much, though she might have won the prize for most inept midlife crisis, most acrimonious divorce, and person never likely to amount to much, if anyone had held a competition. Not that any of it mattered. She had arrived and there was work to do. To her surprise, the old key worked perfectly and gave her easy entry into a cluttered, dingy, pungent past. The first thing she did was open the kitchen window to dissipate the fetid air. The second was to ring her sister. "Hey, it's me. I'm here." "Oh God, how bad is it?" Rose asked, her voice laden with false concern. They both knew that she couldn't have cared less so long as she didn't have to deal with it. Edie surveyed her surroundings. She had perched herself on the edge of a rickety chair, and from there she could see only a fraction of the desuetude that had beset the house. Grease had trickled and congealed on the walls, and mould had started to mount an onslaught in neglected corners. It looked like Aunt Dolly hadn't deigned to lift a cloth in some time. A combination of Steptoe's front yard and 10 Rillington Place springs to mind, and that's just based on the smell. It's bad, Rose, really bad. Oh, Lord, I wasn't sure what it would be like. Are you sure you can do this on your own? Edie sighed. Rose's feigned empathy was a constant source of irritation. There isn't much choice. You can't help, and there isn't anyone else. Rose was about to embark on a month-long cruise with her husband, a long-awaited trip that couldn't be put aside, even for the death of a relative. "I can't see this place fetching much. It will need gutting and half rebuilding, looking at the state of it. Is anyone going to want to take it on?" "Someone will. The property prices in that area of Winfield are going through the roof. It's up and coming, Edie. Someone's going to get an absolute bargain." Edie thought about the one-stop shop, the street drinkers and the bedsits. That somebody will need to have a lot of vision then. "Rose, should we feel bad that we let it go on so long? Should we have done more?" Edie hadn't set foot in the house since 1980, when it had been untidy and in need of a clean, but not on the point of ruin. She had been a child then, and how people lived hadn't been her primary concern. At that age, she had been preoccupied by ponies that she would never own, and contemplating a career as an air hostess, not worrying about how her strange relatives chose to live their lives. It had been a nice age, a time to have fantasies, a time to be unaffected by the knowledge that ponies were expensive manure-producing machines, and that air hostesses were just glorified waitresses. Reality always bit eventually. "How could we have known? She never told us how bad things were. I used to phone her once a month, and she never said a word. I suppose we could have done more, but how were we to know?" Rose was being unusually generous in her use of the word we. Edie had never phoned or ever checked in on her elderly aunt to pass the time of day. She had been too busy having a life. Now she wasn't, and this hasty, unwanted task felt like too little done too late. "Do you think there is much of any value in there?" Rose asked. Edie looked around again. "I have no idea. Most of it looks like junk at the moment, and filthy junk at that. But I'll sort through it and let you know." Rose wasn't being greedy. Dolly Morris had died with debts, and the money had to come from somewhere. Being executor of this particular will came with responsibilities, not benefits. "Will you go to the funeral?" "I suppose I should. I'm taking apart her life and selling it for scrap. It would seem mercenary not to," Edie said, wondering if Simon felt the same obligation to her now that their house was in the process of being sold and their property was being divided. She doubted it. His only obligation seemed to be himself these days. "I know one thing, though. We'll have shares in Lever by the time I'm finished. I might well make a dent in the European bleach mountain tackling this mess."